Namaskar, welcome back to your weekend show, The Media Scan. Viewers, Operation Herof 2.0, the audacious attack on Pakistan military and establishment by the Baloch Liberation Army has completely shown the hollowness, exposed the tall claims of the Pakistan Army made by Field Marshal Asim Munir. Right as we speak, the Pakistan Army is struggling to retain control over Balochistan, though it has been more than a week that the first attacks were launched in an orchestrated, planned manner in more than a dozen places. So, the obvious question on everyone's mind today is, has Pakistan lost control over Balochistan? Take a look.
In one of their deadliest attacks in 7 decades, Baloch Liberation fighters launched a coordinated attack on a dozen military and government establishments on January 30-31st. Baloch Liberation Army spokesman Jian Baloch said this was the start of Operation Herof 2.0, reminding everyone of the deadly Herof 1.0 in 2024. Among the main cities that were attacked include Quetta, Nushki, Mastung, Dalbandin, Gwadar, Patni, Kharan, Tum and Buleda. The presence of women fighters leading some of the attacks has added a new dimension to the fight. Baloch women fighters like Asifa Mengal and Hawa Baloch took the internet by storm. Tired of the disappearances, killings and human rights abuses, these women have taken up arms just like their menfolk. Pak Army responded to the attacks through its operation codenamed Rad-ul-Fitna 1. Pak Army claimed it killed around 220 attackers while 17 army personnel were also killed. But the BLA refuted the claim and said not less than 200 Pak personnel were killed in the attacks. In the midst of these claims and counterclaims, Pak Defence Minister Khwaja Ahmed Asif admitted that the Baloch fighters had better weapons and tried hiding the army's ineptness by pointing fingers at neighboring countries. But what explains the near total support of the local population who are standing with the fighters, providing them food and beverages, shelter and moral support?
And with that quick report, I want to come straight to our guest for this evening. I have here with me TCA Raghavan, career diplomat who served among other countries in Pakistan as India's High Commissioner. Namaskar sir, welcome to Media Scan.
Good afternoon.
And also with us Tara Kartha, expert on land warfare studies, not something we see among women too often. Welcome back Taraji. And if I may come to you first, Tara Kartha, in your assessment, briefly, how do you look at the situation in Balochistan at this moment? Who do you think has the upper hand, and is there possibility of peace soon?
I don't think there's possibility of this stopping anytime soon. Because it is this particular operation, and the Baloch themselves call it their 5th operation,
Yes.
Since they started in 1947, right? This is not today or yesterday that it started. This one is the largest in terms of attacks, is the largest in terms of the territory that it is covering, and it is the largest in terms of the cities that it has targeted, which is about 14 cities. So this is huge. And I can't see the Pakistanis doing anything sensible here. They are just going out and massacring whoever they can find. They are bombing them from the air. That is not counterterrorism. That is war against your own people. What are you doing? So it's the more they do this, the more number of recruits are going to go and fight alongside the BLA. And then, of course, they'll blame everybody else.
Yes.
But the point is, when I think recently, the DGISP said 177 Baloch killed in the last 48 hours. 177 killed is certainly not counterterrorism. That is a massacre. So I mean, I honestly, they have huge numbers of troops deployed, and they're still not able to control it because the people, you can see it on clips on social media. They are taking selfies with the Baloch Liberation Organization. They are welcoming them into their homes. They are hugging them. That is the kind of support they're getting. So how do you expect this to just stop all of us? The BLA will stop it. They will stop, but at a time of its choosing.
Right.
So let's see what happens next.
Yes. And in fact, you reminded us of those clips. There are all kinds of clips, people offering beverages and food to the fighters and giving them shelter when they are tired. Mr. Raghavan, coming to you, sir, we know there are claims and counterclaims about how many killed on which side. But regardless of those numbers, as Tarak Artha just mentioned, the army was taken totally by surprise in Balochistan. And as Tarak Artha pointed, if it stops, it will be at the choice of the BLA. Do you agree with that point? Where do you think Asim Munir stands today, who went around the world offering military assistance to all kinds of Gulf countries and, making tall claims during Operation Sindoor? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, what happened in Balochistan recently certainly is the most significant tactical attack which we have seen, and possibly in terms of its coverage, in terms of its ambition, and most of all in its intensity, is much more than what we have ever seen before. But the situation as it has emerged in Balochistan is not a new one.
Right.
And these attacks have been taking place for a number of years. I think the problem in Balochistan today is that the Pakistan military, which really runs the policy issues concerning Balochistan, really has no game plan apart from a securitized mindset. And because they don't have a larger plan, they only rely on kinetic or securitized measures to deal with what is essentially a political situation, because the problem in Balochistan is a widespread alienation on account of a perception that the province has been economically exploited for the advantage of the rest of Pakistan, while the people of Balochistan have not derived any advantages from the huge mineral and other resources which the province has. I think addressing that alienation is a political issue, and it has to be handled politically.
Sir, do you think there is a political plan in the pipeline? Do they even know how they want to proceed politically?
I don't think the Pakistan military has a plan at all. And apart from relying on kinetic measures, they are a bit clueless.
Fine.
This is part of the pattern which has been there for a number of years. As you are aware, this particular latest insurgency began with the killing of the Nawab of Bukti about 2 decades ago. And he was principally a political figure, possibly the most important political figure thrown up by the province since 1947. And the fact that he was assassinated or killed in cold blood, rather than negotiate with him on political terms, shows the essential limitations of Pakistan's strategy.
Yes, and even now the representatives in the Pak government are repeatedly saying that we have no plans to speak to anybody representing the Baloch people, etc. But before that, let me play a comment made by their defense minister in the Pakistan National Assembly, which will make it even clearer where the Pakistan army, the government, stands at this point of time vis-a-vis Balochistan.
ये इनके पास जो असला है, मैं आपको उसका भी बताता हूं। 20 लाख रुपए की तो सिर्फ राइफल है, हमारे पास नहीं है वो राइफल। उसके ऊपर जो लेजर, जो हीट, बॉडी की हीट से डिटेक्ट होकर फायर होता है, वो $4,000-5,000 का वो है। टोटल जो गियर है इनके पास जो है, इट्स क्लोज टू $20,000। वो कहां से आ रहा है? कौन उसकी अदायगी कर रहा है? कोई बताए इस बात को, कौन उसकी अदायगी कर रहा है? कौन इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा है असले के अंदर?
So in that comment of the Pakistan defense minister, you can see very clearly he has almost admitted on the floor of the assembly that they have been outwitted by the Baloch attacks. On this, we spoke to our colleague Colonel Danbir Singh on where the Baloch Liberation Army stands operationally. Do listen.
See, this operation that was carried out in Balochistan by the BLA was absolutely fantastic and by far the very best. Why I say so is because it involved targets spread over geography, right from the coast of Arabian Sea up till Quetta, and at 12 different places, which involved a lot of coordination, of course. It also involved a lot of secrecy because secrecy was maintained and Pakistani establishment in the army was surprised. It involved lots of logistics, equipment and planning, which goes to say that BLA has got more mature, operationally more sound and effective on ground. And that is why Pakistani defense minister had to come out and say that they are better equipped. And why he said so? He said so because he could not have said that Pakistan army is weak and they got defeated. So basically he was trying to accept defeat by apportioning credit to the BLA in terms of equipment and better technology at their disposal. Now, point over here to understand is that Baloch do not have any extraordinary technology at their disposal. It is some of the rifles that they have are of American origin that the US left in Afghanistan. They would be having some night vision devices and thermal imagers. And of course, they have AK-47s and RPGs and things like that.
So with those interesting military angle comments by Colonel Danbir Singh, let me come back to Tara Kartha. Ma'am, two things here. First of all, the Pakistan government, the establishment, even on the floor, you saw the hints there. Pakistan has been trying to point fingers at India, saying the Baloch army cannot be so well equipped unless they are helped by our neighbor. But at the same time, he is also admitting how they have been, completely outwitted in the game. How do you look at this admission of the minister and pointing fingers at India again? Yes.
I said there are a lot of Pakistanis themselves who will always say that, this sense of victimhood by the Pakistanis. They will say they are victim of US plans in Afghanistan. They said, everything we suffered because the US started the war in Afghanistan in the late 80s, forgetting that they started the war in 1974. Then they will blame XYZ, they will blame Iran, they will blame everybody except themselves. So that we've got used to that. But I find the defense minister's assertion a little hilarious. I mean, the way he's putting it across, it's really funny because you're a nuclear power, right? You've got in this whole West Asian construct which they are making, they're offering an umbrella to XYZ countries. They have the largest army. You have the largest army and you can't take on the BLA. What is wrong with you? So it is in terms of, there's not a single Indian other than that unfortunate Navy guy who was pulled in from Iran. He was kidnapped from Iran and brought in. Other than that, there's not a single bit of evidence to show that India is doing anything. We don't have to. Why should I waste my money there? They're all doing it themselves. If you go on alienating a country, Pakistan themselves have supplied weapons by the millions over the years in Afghanistan. There are weapons everywhere. And then you say, how did they get weapons? Okay, also the US cache, which is they left behind. That
let me carry forward that part. At the moment, perhaps the senior most leader of the Baloch Liberation Movement, Miryar Baloch, gave out a tweet just a day ago where he has asked the whole world community, the global community, to look at what is going on in Balochistan and to come out, at least to say something about the whole situation. Mr. Raghavan, how do you look at the response of the global community in this entire chain of events?
Well, I think the response of the global community has always been that the situation in Balochistan is an internal matter for Afghanistan to address. I don't think there's any real change in that situation. The fact is that, what the defense minister said about how the Baloch activists are armed, this is something which they have been saying for a period of time now, also about the Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan, that they are better equipped, they have access to very, very superior advanced armaments. It is a fact that the United States, when they withdrew in disarray and disorder from Afghanistan, left behind a huge array of weaponry, which is now leaking into the hands of these different activists and different insurgent groups. So Pakistan is hardly, saying something new when it asks these questions rhetorically. I think the defense minister knows the answer, that all of this has come from the same source. And the reason for that is that Pakistan's relationship with Afghanistan has deteriorated so much in the past 2 years that they have no real way of addressing this issue anymore. I think the problem is Pakistan's inability to introspect on its own policies, which have led to this very poor state of relations, both with India and with Afghanistan. And as Tara Kantha said, this absence of introspection means that in a situation like this, they find it convenient to blame everyone rather than acknowledge their own responsibility and their policy failures.
True. And I'll come back to Tara Kantha on this again. You were just telling us, how Pakistan has been trying to hide its own ineptness, perhaps. Notwithstanding the irony that it is a nuclear power, but it cannot control one of its own territories. But among the elements of the people's participation that we have witnessed through various media, one thing that this Herof 2.0, the latest series of attacks, has brought out is the participation of Baloch women. They had been in a helping situation, in an assistance situation till now, providing logistic support and help to their fighters. But this is the first time women, both young and old, have come out into the front. They are fighting the Pakistan army with weapons, and a few of them, if I am not wrong, have also given their life in course of their fighting. Tara Kantha, how about that?
I think it's amazing. And I think a lot of it comes from the fact that you had this leadership of Mehrang Baloch, she's amazing. What a personality. And they, instead of talking to her and bringing her in and finding a solution, they threw her into jail and she's still alive, she's still there. So that would have definitely have motivated a lot of women. And number two, I'm willing to bet anything that these are women who have suffered from their husbands, brothers, children being hit by the Pakistan army. What do? The only thing you can do then is pick up a gun. So that's what I'm trying to say. Your so-called counter-terrorism operations are creating more problems for yourself in lower the line than solving an issue. You think the attitude of the Pakistan establishment is pushing... Because he's from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Yes. Ma'am, you think the Pakistan government's attitude is pushing more people into fighting against them?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. If someone kills somebody of mine who's my loved person, I will pick up a gun. Because there's nothing else I can do. There are no courts, there's no police who will listen to me, there is no authority who will give me redress. The chief minister how he won? He won with no competition. There was nobody stood against the present chief minister. And that's how he was foisted on Balochistan. So where do you go?
Right. Point taken. Ma'am, I do not have much time left with me, but before we move to wind up this conversation, there is one question that many experts are flagging. I have been reading about it. About, the BLA might have had the advantage of surprise on their side. But there is also a question with the military being pumped there. How long can they sustain this whole fight? And on that, I spoke to Danveer Singh again and how he looks at it.
As far as sustaining this fight is concerned, BLA will be able to sustain because geography of Balochistan is totally in favor of the Baloch. Population is totally aligned. It's a very emotional insurgency. It has got historical background. It has got the issue of oppression at the hands of Pakistani establishment. It has got an angle of loot. So basically, Baloch feel victimized, and very rightly so. We'll not get into that detail. So there is a strong emotional and nationalistic reason for these Baloch to continue this fight. They are going to continue this fight. They have been fighting for a very long period, and they'll be able to sustain that. But the tactics involved would always revolve around such kind of attacks that we saw. Because let's not forget that Balochistan is very thinly populated. The thing that goes against the Baloch Liberation Army is that they are not having a very wide population base in terms of number for recruitment. So that is one issue. But otherwise, as far as morale, motivation, conviction and focus is concerned, they are going to last for a very long time. And in any case, Pakistani Defense Minister has shown signs of fatigue in the Pakistani establishment, and weakness and low morale of Pakistani army also gets reflected in this sequence of events that unfolded during the period of attack. We saw a number of videos wherein you could see those Paki Fajis running away, and it reflects on their morale as well. So I think Baloch freedom fighters are going to last a very long time.
Mr. Raghavan, coming back to you, sir, same question. How long do you think the Baloch can sustain this fight? And is the Pakistan army already fatigued, though it's just been over a week?
Well, this insurgency has been going on for 7 decades, and there's no reason to think that it will not continue. But there are 2 points which are important. Firstly, it will remain of a tactical nature. That means we will have attacks, occasionally spectacular attacks of the kind we just saw, but it will not have any significant permanent impact in terms of being able to hold a territory for any length of time against the Pakistani security forces. Secondly, I don't think we should have any doubt that while such attacks lead to a certain amount of demoralization and disarray, the Pakistan army itself has no real doubts about its capacity to fight this insurgency forever. They have command over the country's resources, and as I said, they have only a securitized mindset or a securitized approach to deal with this problem. So I think this tactical insurgency will just continue in much the same way as it always has.
Fine. Tarak Artha, final comments to you. Do you think without any political plan in mind, with no roadmap for dialogue, in fact stalling dialogue at every stage, with just a security reactive attitude towards Baloch, what do you think is there for the coming days in Pakistan and the subcontinent?
Well, like Ambassador said very rightly, it will continue. The BLA will stop, they will stop attacks, they'll retreat. And then after a while, it will start again. So this cycle will keep on going. And honestly, the Punjabis don't care. If the Baloch are dying, they don't care at all. I just want to recall to you that Imran Khan, when he was Prime Minister, actually announced about almost, I think, about $1 billion or something. I don't remember the exact figures, for development of Balochistan. And then he of course, was sent off packing by the army. So, but Imran Khan understood the Baloch annoyance because he's a Pashtun, he's from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where they are also being decimated right now as we speak. Military operations are going on there as well. So if these two forces get together, I don't know what will happen. It could happen. In that case, there's a difference, that drop that the military analyst pointed out. You don't have enough people. So holding territory becomes, well, nearly impossible. But this will carry.
I mean, the obvious question here is, do you see them coming together? The possibility that you've just hinted at.
Well, they're entirely different ideologies. One is the religious right, and the Baloch are not in the least like that. They are very, very educated. I mean, look at their leader, Bashir Zaid. They're all extremely educated, middle-class people. But I think anger and violence can probably drive them together. But let's see. Well, let's see what happens. But I feel very, very sad for these people. It's terrible. And you have the US embassy just now supporting them and saying that, oh, Pakistan is doing the right thing. I mean, what is wrong with you? This is a people who have never harmed the US. They've never hit the US institutions. And what gives you the right to decide?
So perhaps that is the reason why Mir Baloch and several of his friends on the liberation, connected with the liberation movement, have been expressing great disappointment at the attitude of the West, the global community. But Tarak Artha, you have given us some points to discuss maybe in some other episode very soon to take forward this conversation. Mr. Raghavan has just left us because he had to go somewhere. But Tarak Artha, thank you so much for all that perspective, for explaining the situation to our viewers. We will get back to you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
So viewers, as all our experts have just pointed out, when one is unable to control a situation, one tends to lay the blame on everybody else except themselves. That is why the Pakistan army, the Pakistan government is sometimes blaming the Indian government, sometimes movies like Dhurandhar, and sometimes the whole world. However, the fact remains that Pakistan is struggling to retain control over Balochistan, and the Baloch people are in no mood to give up anytime soon. On that note, it's a wrap up on Media Scan for this weekend. Do join us next weekend. Till then, namaskar.